Yeah, well, I'm gonna be doing something in a second. I'm just listening in the background, but uh, you're
Yeah,
about
go
to
ahead,
start
man.
playing something. Just really, really briefly, real briefly.
Yeah,
I just
yeah,
want to say,
yeah, yeah. Go ahead,
in
man.
response to Red, really, really, really quick in response to Red. I think it could be because we don't have enough of Parmenides and Heraclitus, but I would say that maybe it's they want us to look at them through the lens of Plato, and that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Yeah, that
That
is
that's
fascinating.
very very possible. Yeah, like an agenda behind it. Oh, and he just leaves.
Damn, drive by.
Drive by Neurojack with the neuro crack.
And yeah, he hit it right on the money. Now, they are consciously promoting, Plato's philosophy because it aligns both with Christianity and Judaism,
Right,
right?
you
So,
pretty much said that earlier in so many words.
yeah, I've said that so many times, right? Because, if you look at Maimonides and St. Thomas Aquinas, their philosophy is heavily ingrained with Neoplatonism and Aristotelianism, right? It just seemed like they used both of these systems to explain God. So there's no going back. They use these systems to explain their cosmological ideas, right? So there's no going back, right?
Right.
Yeah, and yeah, if you got time, Neuro, please come back. And yeah. So here's the music, and yeah, we'll be back soon. Blessings, friends. And yeah, if Shadow Buddha's still there, I appreciate you, man. That was a killer comment. And yeah, all you guys,
I think he's still here. Yeah.
yeah, appreciate the jams, man. And
Pump up the jams.
I really like this sort of mix here. It's sort of very relaxing. It's about like sort of monk. It's like doing like some sort of Brahmin rituals, and it's very relaxing. Right? But yeah, I mean, the songs are called "Take Four" and "Drifting." Right? Yeah. Oh, whoops. There we go. Yeah, the other one was wrong. Here, hold on. Let me start this again.
Well, that sounds like some dub techno or something.
Yeah, it's dope.
Nice.
在旅社醒来，是这种感觉吗？
Yeah. Blessings to all the people. Greatly appreciate you guys. We got a lot more music coming up this week. Really, it's a great week for music. Honestly, that's what I think. But yeah, we got a lot of material here. Let's go to Angie Hobbs. Angie Hobbs, right? And she's talking. We looked at her video on Heraclitus, and she raised some good concerns there. Right, and of course, we're watching her video on the Parmenides, right? Before we look at some biographical info on Parmenides, and of course, I've always done this, right? I looked at 2 or 3 resources of biographical info before we move into the philosophers that we're looking at, right? So, because I think the ideas are basically as important as the man, right? And their expression in their own lifetime. You know, history cannot be separated from ideas. That's nonsense, right? Go back to the drawing board. So so if you're going to look at the philosopher, I mean, if you're going to look at the philosophy, look at the philosopher. That'll tell you a lot about it.
Yeah, there's a huge difference between the philosophers of free societies as opposed to those that are more restrictive.
Oh yeah, because the free society was sort of the outspawn of modernism and liberalism, sort of, so to speak. So it's interesting, right? But as Mumford says, the more humanistic techniques were always in conflict with the mega machine that seeks to build empires, right? So there was always democratic and totalitarian techniques just based on the scale of civilization, right? So there's another point to be made there, right? So it's fascinating stuff. And of course we ask a lot of questions about the state of nature debate and all that here on The Machine Lies. But yeah, I have no idea where we left off in this video, so I will go to a random part. I believe we were like 10 minutes to the end, if I'm not mistaken, but maybe I'll go to like 29 minutes. But it also looks like this video is gone, so this is a different video. So the video that was there was gone.
Oh.
I forget who said it, but the other stream, when you put Hobbs on, someone's like, "Oh no, not the Fire Lady again."
Yeah, it looks like the one on Philosophy Overdose is not there, but there's one by King Philosophy that's reposted it. So I'm actually kind of confused that there's a different channel now, that doesn't have it separated into the tabs. So, for whatever reason that happened, and perhaps I will try to save this video because as you see, they're altering the video. They're just popping up on different channels. There's no rhyme or reason. So as we explore these videos, this may be the last time you may see them online. Maybe the only reference for these videos is the show. So
they might They might be on BitChute or Odyssey though.
Yeah, look closer, right? In other words, you never know.
Says that you can't think nothing. You've got to think something. That is
And of course, much poorer video and audio quality. You know, if you
Whole
guys
lot
noticing.
worse.
Yeah, it's terrible, yeah.
Unfortunately.
but that it
I
doesn't
did turn
vary
the
from that.
Right.
subtitles on.
Yeah, and so much worse audio and video quality here. So, I mean, it's just insanity, folks. But yeah, this is we're just playing YouTube videos, but yeah.
That there can be no differentiation within this something, within this being. That in fact, you can divide it up into different objects with different predicates, and that these different objects can change, and they can appear to come out of being and come into being, so long as overall there is just being, and that goes on being, and that never changes as being, but within being, there is room for the appearances. So that's one possibility, but it does require us to make this very big assumption that Parmenides, the philosopher, the writer, has worked out these different senses of the verb to be.
Yeah, so what she's saying is there's a hardcore interpretation of Parmenides, right? Where the way of seeming is, cannot exist alongside the way of being, right? But there's another sense in which the appearances count as a sort of way that things can sort of change, right? But not really change, right? So she's saying, the interpretation of the text sort of leaves it open which one it actually is, right? But it seems like he seems pretty assertive that, within being there is no change, and when Zeno describes these ideas, he's looking at change within physical observation, right? Our ability to observe things, right? So he's sort of using the path of seeming to implode in on itself, and to just using empiricism to refute itself, right? But yeah, blessings.
And is actually inviting us, the readers, the hearers, to work out this distinction for ourselves, and to realize that the appearances can exist as appearances, providing we understand that underneath, as it were, there is just being, even if it looks different on the surface. So that's a pretty radical interpretation, but I've got an even more radical one for you to consider. If Parmenides, the author, is aware that the way of truth is self-refuting in the way that we considered in the last session, if he's aware of that, and if he makes the goddess, his character of the goddess, aware of that, then it might be possible that the way of truth actually needs the way of seeming, because the way of truth is not going to get us very far. So here's a thought.
Yeah, I think that might be a sort of very like Aristotelian interpretation, because remember I said Aristotle, his philosophy also requires being. In Plato, his philosophy also requires being as a starting point, right? So they're not saying that being is alongside becoming. No, they're saying that becoming is a subset of being, right? So so what's really interesting is that, yeah, within the pairing of these two, right, you could either have a view where you need to engage in the awareness of becoming to realize the nature of being, right? And that seems like what Aristotle is saying. You observe nature to get to the general principles, right? And so that's one way of not negating being, but also including becoming, but then giving becoming a radically, necessary, place in the cosmology, right? Or in the metaphysic, right? So, but yeah, anyways.
Parmenides, the writer, realizes that at the end of the way of truth,
But he's still,
if we take it at face value,
Yeah, go ahead, Max. Blessings.
yeah, he's saying that there's no change in the being, only in the becoming. Is that kind of what I'm getting from him? Like the once you, if you
Yeah.
return, when you return to
Yeah, both
being.
Plato and Aristotle are saying that. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, they're saying there's no change in the being, there's only change in the becoming. Yeah.
All right.
So they said nature changes, right? And they say differently how it changes, right? But they come to the conclusion that being, is sort of ontologically transcendent, right, from this becoming, right? So yeah.
Kind of
we have
limited.
this
Yeah. So they say both, because they say nature, changes, right? And they sort of say, well, it's about the material and the immaterial. Of the immaterial, there is no change. Of the material, there is change, because the material is composed of parts. At least that's how Aristotle phrases it, right? So
I find that bleak for the soul. The soul returns to just a form, and the only experience or expression you could have of a higher form would be in nature.
yeah, I know what you mean, Max. So it's kind of like, what are these immaterial guys doing? It kind of sounds whack. For sure.
monist universe.
Well, Aristotle, they're thinking about thinking. Yeah, sounds like a great time. Yeah, no, it doesn't. It sounds like, self-masturbatory, dead end, right?
Right.
The straitjacket of Aristotelian metaphysics, right? But yeah.
This universe where there's just one thing. And if he thinks that there can't be differentiated objects within that one universe, okay, so if we rule out the third interpretation that we've just been considering, and if we say there's just this one universe and there can't be different people within it and different objects, then you've got a cosmos in which there can't be a goddess talking to the young Parmenides. There can't be words, there can't be language. All the premises of the way.
Yeah, good egg. That reminds me of that lady from Willy Wonka, right? The young one, right? Where she says, something, it's my something and I want it now, or something. I don't know. But yeah,
of truth, you think either it is or it isn't, etc., etc. Those premises just couldn't exist. So in the very strictest sense, we might have an argument in the way of truth, which quite literally refutes itself, i.e. the conclusion of the argument, this monist universe, where there's just one thing being, undifferentiated, simply cancels out the premises that the whole argument is based on, because the premises included more than one thing. They included Parmenides and the goddess, they included the use of language, the use of logic, and so on. So in the very strictest sense, maybe it is self-refuting. Then the question is Parmenides aware of that? And then the third question is, if Parmenides, the author, is aware of that, is he allowing the goddess to be aware of that? And if the answer is yes to all those three questions, we might have an argument which is known by Parmenides to be self-refuting, which is deliberately self-refuting. Well, why? Why on earth would he do that? Why on earth would he say truth refutes itself? Let's consider where we started. At the very beginning, I suggested that it was helpful to look at Parmenides' project in terms of saying, let's see how far we can get from first principles using reason alone. A kind of project in a way similar to Descartes' later project. I think, therefore I am.
I think it's totally separate, right? Because in that very credo, Descartes is separating thinking and being, right? So there's an inherent problem with what she's saying, right? Because Cartesian dualism, right? So this is the thing, is that, it would appear that Parmenides is sort of like, or at least most philosophies consider him to be a monist, right? Saying that being is like all there is, right? So the sort of thinking about being comprising the essence of being itself, right? I think he would consider that a false way, right? But it is important to note, right, as I said earlier, that Plato gave several concessions to Parmenides' philosophy, right? So he for example, he said being is the realm of the forms, right? The archetypes are in the state of being, right? Whereas becoming is nature, right? So again, we have the separation between the material and the immaterial, right? But also, there is a obviously, in the idea of the forms, there's a plurality of archetypes, right? So but he says there's sort of a universal mind, right, which is this demiurge, right? Whereas Descartes posits a quasi-Gnostic idea, right, about this evil demon that may be showing you a false reality, trapping you in a false reality, right? So he flips Plato on his head to make the point about this, cogito, right? So, it is fascinating. It's fascinating stuff. But I think she's on the wrong track there, and saying that the way of truth is self-refuting. I don't know. There's not much there. Saying that the way of becoming is the path of seeming. I don't know about that. Right. And that he's put the two in one, sort of idea. Right. No, I think that's false. Right. So yeah, I don't like this later part of her presentation for sure. But she is a hardcore Platonist. So let her biases be put up front. Right?
See where we can get from first principles and just using our human reason. How far can we get? Parmenides now might be saying, well, actually, we can't get very far. Reason.
It said, did you notice when she said Parmenides, it wrote communities? So it was like weird.
Yeah, the captions aren't that great.
Yeah, they're not that great. But yeah.
Very much about the world. It really can't. So if that's the case, what can we rely on, or what can we turn to help us understand the world around us? Well, if reason ends up refuting itself, then we'll have to turn to our sense organs. We're going to have to turn to sense data and see where that gets us. Where would that get us? The way of seeming. So on this very radical interpretation, the way of truth is known to be self-refuting. We then say, okay, reason is not very adequate. It's not very helpful, or certainly not on its own. We need our sense data. We need to see what our senses can tell us. And so then we turn to the way of seeming, which is exactly how the world appears to us.
Yeah, I think it's actually opposite, right? Meaning that if you reject both empiricism and dualism, right, then you basically understand that being is the true nature of things, that all your rational sort of deductions about these empirical facts, right, are sort of, of a secondary nature, right, to the actual knowledge, right? So you would engage in society, right? So it's interesting to note that Plato and Heraclitus, right, they like went away. They like tried to go to the academy, they tried to go to the temple of Artemis, they rejected the society, right? Whereas Parmenides was a head figure in his society, right? He devised the laws. He was like a politician, right? So he went back to square one, which is let's deal with people. Right. So I think it's evident in their actions, right? Where, Heraclitus was this misanthrope, and Parmenides was sort of a crucial part of the society in which he lived.
That's a real big difference, as well, as their cultural is whether they interacted with their society, how
Right.
did they get along with them? That's huge.
Yeah. To me, it's big, but yeah, so, I mean, it's cool to philosophize and say like, oh, well, you totally can't do anything with Parmenides' philosophy, but what has all the philosophizing accomplished? And right,
A
so
lot
I
of it's
think,
crazy stuff.
yeah, so I think like, like Socrates, in that painting School of Athens, I think it's Raphael, right? He's shown walking out of the School of Athens and taking Zeno with him. Right. So, I mean, who knows if that was the better place, right? Instead, all of Western philosophy is a footnote to Plato, right? So, so maybe we went the wrong way. You know what I mean? Who's to say?
Full of light and shade, and night and day, and different objects, and objects which change and have different properties and come into being and go out of being. This is how the world appears to us. But, says Parmenides, there may be a problem there as well, because yes, this is what our senses tell us, but this way of seeming appears to go against the laws of logic as I've set them out in the way of truth. It appears to flout the law of non-contradiction. It appears to rest on being and not being, when I've told you you've got to choose between being or not being. If this is the case, and it only can be the case if Parmenides thinks that the way of seeming really is...
I mean, it's just like a regular everyday Platonist, right? They want to have their, becoming and eat it too, right? So this is the problem, right?
Have their becoming and be it too.
Yeah. And then also be the being, right? Like, so, they can interpret being and be becoming. It's like, you guys are cosmic, and it's like you basically agree with Protagoras that man is a measure of all things, right? So I don't know, but yeah.
Logical and really can't be incorporated into the way of truth. So this interpretation is going to rule out the third interpretation. It can't make the way of seeming compatible with the way of truth in that way. If this is the case, and the way of seeming is deemed to be illogical, flouting the laws of reason, then we've got a real problem on our hands. We've got a real dialectical dilemma, because we've got two ways of trying to find out about the world. We've got our reason, but that's a problem because it looks like it comes up with a view of being, which is ultimately self-refuting. Or we can turn to our sense organs and see what sense data tell us.
Now, notice that immediately after rejecting being, right, you have to go to empiricism, right? There's just no other way, right? So that's where sort of Aristotle wins, right? Because it's like, you can't start with first principles, right? So you can't go with Plato, right? So it's like, so once you, reject the path of being, right? There's, there's cold hard empiricism, right? But it's kind of hard to get to, truth, logic, math and all these things, or prove that any of these things are real, or ethics, right? In that sort of way of justifying things, right? So it's kind of a interesting hole to put yourself in.
Right? That's a problem because sense data appear to flout the laws of reason. So what do? We've got this circular argument. Now, on this very radical interpretation, this might be why Parmenides says, it matters not to me where I begin, because I shall return there again. This might even be why he says that truth is a sphere, truth is spherical. We've got this circular argument going on, that he's saying, I'm going to pose you a
Yeah, with this whole spherical notion, right, we get to this idea about the limited nature of being versus the infinite nature of being, right, with Melissus, right, because there's another Parmenidean thinker, right, that sort of expands on his thoughts, right? So we don't have that much from Parmenides himself, right, but there are expansions of his thoughts and ideas, right, in Melissus and Zeno, right? So so we'll be focusing on Parmenides for quite some time, right? So get comfortable. If you think that this is a radically simple argument, it is. But the thing is that it is part of the foundation, as I laid down earlier, right, of what greatly inspired, Plato and Aristotle, right? Even though within the very argument itself, there's a rejection of their philosophical modes of thinking, right? And Plato himself acknowledged this, right? In a work that he wrote called Plato's Parmenides. It is the most complex dialogue of his, right? It's very hard to read that one out of some of them, right? There's harder ones and easier ones, right? Like the Apology is pretty straightforward, right? So is the Crito, right? But there's ones that are a lot more difficult, right, to read, right? Alcibiades is pretty easy to read, right? Symposium is really easy to read, right? But things like the Timaeus, right? Things like the Republic, right? Things like, the Phaedo and the Phaedrus, they're difficult to read, and it's hard to understand what he's saying or to work it out, in your mind, because he's going through such complex ideas. Right?
Real problem here. You want to find out about the world, you're going to have to rely on either your reason or your sense organs, or both. But there's problems with both your reason and your sense organs. What are you going to do? If we are attracted to this interpretation, then we've got Parmenides not so much as a metaphysician, but Parmenides as a dialectician. Now, we know that Parmenides taught Zeno. The later Greek philosopher Aristotle.
Okay, so she's sort of talking about and expanding on some of the legacy of Parmenides now, right? So this is interesting, right? Because this is exactly what I was just building on.
Tells us that Zeno was the first dialectician.
Right. So he says Aristotle tells us that Zeno was the first dialectician. Right. So the dialectical mode of thinking that was employed by Socrates and explained by Plato, right, in the, as he explains the Socratic method, right, that that this was actually, discovered by Zeno, a student of Parmenides. So there you can see how influential his philosophy truly is, right? Yeah, I appreciate you guys, right? Thank you for that. I appreciate y'all.
But on this very radical fourth interpretation that I'm suggesting to you, just to think about, maybe actually Zeno's teacher, Zeno's master, Parmenides, was the first dialectician. Now, I don't know which of these four possible interpretations is correct, and there may be more interpretations. You may be able to think up some of your own. Interpretation 1 and 2 could go together. It is possible that the goddess is saying, I don't want any mortal mind to outstrip you, and when you really get into the way of seeming, you'll see how it rests on false premises. You'll see how, in fact, the way of seeming reinforces the truth of the way of truth, because the way of seeming reveals itself to be false.
Right. And that seems to be what Zeno's paradoxes are exactly pointing to. Right. They're looking at movement, time, space, right? Everything is happening in something or on something, right? For something to move through, it has to be here, then here, then here, right? In order for something to get to a place, it has to go halfway, then half of the way, then half of the way. Therefore, it'll never get there, right? So he's got paradoxes, right, that employ this dialectical method to show how the way of seeming, as I said, implodes on itself, right? And this is sort of not really carried out until you read Ghazali, right, and read his sort of refutations of Aristotelianism, where he's sort of using Aristotelianism to sort of attack Aristotelianism, right? So there's a sort of snake eating its tail there, right? And you know, which has to be pointed out, you know, and you know, by pointing out that, you know, something that is arbitrary or contingent, right? You know, that there is no such thing as arbitrariness, right? That the material is not different from the immaterial, right? All of these sort of, all these, you know, yeah, the digital catacombs. What's up, man? I'm not listening in at moment. Okay, so I don't. Wows. All right, yeah, man. You know, I don't know if you're listening or not, but yeah, man, blessings. Digital catacombs for sure. All right, man.
So interpretation 1 could go together with interpretation 2. Interpretation 3 and interpretation 4, the really radical ones that I've been discussing, I think stand alone. I think if you're going to say actually the way of truth could be compatible with the way of seeming, that we can actually incorporate the appearances into being.
I mean, if you look at Zeno, I don't think that's possible, right? But you know, I think just in terms of looking at how perception, you know, may be different than, you know, thinking, right, which is just a part of being itself, right? You could then extrapolate, right, that, you know, perception is a part of the real, right? Because, you know, perception would be part of thinking, right? So, you know, so if thinking and being are the same, right, then yes, perceptibility and our understanding of it and our understanding that perception sort of collapses in on itself when the first principles are sort of applied to it, right? That is the fact of the matter. Right? So yeah, I mean,
then that's a standalone interpretation.
And remember, the path of seeming is the path of mortals, right? So
interpretation. And this extremely radical final viewpoint, which suggests that Parmenides is actually saying, I'm going to give you a dilemma. I'm going to say to find out about the world, you need to use either your reason or your sense organs, or both, but actually there's a problem with both your reason and with your sense organs and what they tell you. I'm just going to set up this dialectical dilemma for you. I think that interpretation stands alone. So lots for you to think about. Ancient philosophy may have happened a long time ago, but it is still alive.
Yeah, if you guys have any thoughts, you know, or any commentary, you know, or you guys want to start a discussion, now would be the primary time to do that, right? If not, we're going to be wrapping up the show, you know, after we look at the Angie Hobbs presentation, right? But you guys can come up and talk about whatever you like, you know, so this would be the time, right, in which I implore you to, you know, either explore these ideas with us or give a piece of your mind, right, as a detractor or what have you, right? So yeah, so all questions, commentaries, concerns, and complaints are welcome. Blessings.
It's still being debated. People can't quite work out what the pre-Socratics were up to, but of course that's part of the fun. And we're going to look now at what the legacy of Parmenides is. So in terms of Parmenides' legacy, it really is impossible to overstate how important he's been to Western philosophy, and still is. First of all, it's true that he
So
shows...
does he believe that in, I have a question, yeah. So in being, there are no senses. Is that what he believes?
That's a path of seeming.
Okay.
So
But
it's not a path of truth.
okay.
So yeah, so
All right.
think nothing. To think nothing is simply not to be thinking. However, he certainly makes us think about nothing. He certainly makes us think about negative predications. And these are really troubling, difficult ideas. There's a really crucial distinction between the sense of a word and the reference of a word. And Parmenides said...
So she mentioned this earlier, right? That this idea about the existential and the predicative, that is a feature of the syllogism, right? It's a feature of the Aristotelian sort of syllogistic logic, right? And this sort of combines the ideas of grammar and logic, right, in a very interesting way, right? But I think this distinction is simply just about words, right? I think it's about language, right? So I think she's on the wrong track with this, but she's expanding on
Words, where the words exist.
right. We got Ebitard, right? So yeah.
Words to tell me whether or not the right fucking exists. Words to tell me how are you even using words to tell me whether or not the right fucking exists. Where do the words exist? Right? Like
So-
they don't understand the basic philosophical underpinnings of what their intent, and he could accomplish more than... Nobody gives a fuck about your dumbass fucking philosophy. Nobody gave a fuck about anybody's philosophy takes. What the fuck? When did a philosopher ever do a fucking thing? Show me one time a philosopher ever did a fucking thing.
Facts.
This is uniquely subjective.
Everything is uniquely subjective.
You should be seeking this knowledge to expose evil. That's something Christians are supposed to do.
We don't seek knowledge. That's Gnosticism.
Facts.
So there's a hot steaming pile of shit there. Blessings, guys.
is saying to us, this word nothing, it has sense. If I say nothing, you know what I mean, but there's no reference for it. You can't point to nothing. The word table has sense, and you can point to a table. The word nothing has sense, but you can't point to it. It's really, really weird. It functions as a noun in a sentence, but there is no object to which you can point. And that's why, to return to where we started at the very beginning of our first session on Parmenides, that's why the sentences, quote, nothing exists, unquote, and quote, nothing does not exist, unquote. That's why these sentences are so strange.
Right. And right, if you can imagine the difficulty, right, between these two sentences. Right. And of course he's denying the first statement, he's affirming the second one, right? According to Parmenides, right? He doesn't think that nothing exists. Right.
I
But
have a hard time with nothingness myself.
Yeah. Nothing is non-existent, or in other words, nothing is impossible. Right? These are two translations of the Parmenides, right? So it's interesting.
Unquote. That's why these sentences are so strange, so bizarre. And as we've seen, there's a sense in which Parmenides is absolutely right. Look at the language. How can you say that isn't-ness is? It makes no sense. And just as he gets us to think about the puzzles around nothing and negative predications, so he also gets us to think about the puzzles surrounding the concept of being and to be, enai in the Greek. Because in its very broadest sense, the concept of being must somehow embrace, cover all its different senses. The existential sense that we looked at, Socrates is, Socrates exists. The predicative sense, Socrates is short, Socrates is snub-nosed. And there's also a veridical sense of the verb to be. This sentence is true, for instance, whether something is true or not. But all these different senses of the verb to be, and yes, of course, it's important to distinguish them. And we've seen in these 2 sessions on Parmenides how vital it is to distinguish these different senses in order to understand the problems in his way of truth and his way of seeming. But once you've made the distinctions, you've also got to think, well, what is it about the existential sense of the verb to be and the predicative sense and the veridical sense that makes them all being? What is this overall concept of being that includes all these different senses? So if you really start to study Parmenides and think deeply about him, you'll realize that not only is he going to start you on a lifelong puzzle about nothing, he's also going to start you on a lifelong journey into the problems surrounding being. And as we've just seen, he prompts us to think about both reason and sense experience and the respective roles that they play in the acquisition of knowledge. And also, if we've got problems with both reason and sense experience, as Parmenides suggests, where do we
Yeah, and that's a very important point, that Parmenides is denying both reason and sense experience, right? And in terms of that, right, you could look at both, sort of Plato going with reason and then Aristotle going with sort of sense experience, right, to make a final determination about the nature of becoming, right? So, so as we proceed into the major players here, right, we're sort of extrapolating on the fundamental issues, right? And of course, they will also become apparent when we look at some of the Buddhist ideas, right? Because there you will have a bunch of discussions about non-dual awareness and also this whole notion of nothingness, right? Or non-existence, right? They will give a interesting, summation of these ideas, right?
go to? Is there any way we
can... And one thing that's notable there is that they will similarly deny sense experience, right, as a final determinator, right? But yeah,
find out about anything. So he sets us a real puzzle there. And finally, and this is a new point, Parmenides gets us to think about how to start an argument. Because as we've seen, in the way of truth, he tries to start from first principles. And he thinks that one principle is you think, and another is being or not being. But supposing that's the problem, supposing starting from first principles is the problem, supposing that all we can do as mere mortals is to start from where we currently are in time and space and with our current beliefs. And we have to work towards first principles. Start from where we are, work towards first principles, and then start again and see if, starting from those first principles, we get back to where we first began, or whether we get to somewhere quite different. In other words, there may be a profound methodological problem in the way of truth. Maybe the goddess shouldn't have started or tried to start from first principles. Now,
and I think it's interesting that, as I said, right, the empirical mode sort of tends towards, science, whereas this sort of way of nonsense experience, it goes to other things like politics, right? I believe,
question then is, does Parmenides, the author, also think that that's a problem? Is he aware of this? Is he conscious that this is a methodological problem? Is he trying to get us to work this out for ourselves and say, actually, we need to start from where we are now. We need to start from our current beliefs and work towards first principles. So that's a fifth possible legacy that I think Parmenides gives us, and a really important one. How do you start an argument?
All right. So there we are, folks. Nobody came up, so looks like I'll just end it.
All right. Thanks. Have a good night.
Yeah, but if you guys have anything you want to, say to the people, please, or any, thoughts, blessings.
Well, isn't Parmenides basically positing a duality with the realm of seeming and the realm of truth?
Well, the path of seeming is it's not real, right? Truth is all that exists, right?
Right. Yet we're experiencing the realm of seeming.
No, it's a it's a misunderstanding of what's actually happening, right?
Again, I need to dive more into this.
Oh yeah, we're gonna dive head first, into some of these
splash.
Yeah, so we're gonna look at the poem that she's been referring to, right? So,
all right.
Wait, Hyperborean actually agrees with me?
I don't know what he's saying. I have no idea what he's saying. Reddington is right. Right about what? But Parmenides doesn't hold that position. Just come up on the panel. Just let us know what you think, because I'm kind of getting confused. But yeah. Because we do have a few minutes before we wrap up. We'll figure things out. And yeah. If anybody wants to get up on this, let's do it. Open panel.
Nice Moontan. Cannonball that shit. The old
if you're going with
train is leaving the station, peeps.
Yeah, if you're going with the I just don't understand what you're saying, Hyperborean.
No, that's not frustrated. That's nowhere near frustrated.
Yeah. Earlier we got frustrated, me and Twilight, and yeah, that was pretty funny.
He's got people around, I guess. Can't come up.
Yeah, so yeah, we went over the possibility that it's like some type of dualism, but I think that is closer to Plato and Aristotle and their interpretation of being, right? Because as you know, Zeno shows that becoming is false just by way of perception. So as she said, he uses perception to go in on itself. So so you can't have a dual way here. But yeah, that's just my little 2 cents there. But
Wouldn't perception exist in being as well as becoming?
I mean, ideas exist in being, right? But perceptions are just mere exchanges between being and these ideas, right? I think it's like a false exchange between thinking and being, right? Where
Yeah, but if it happened, it exists, right?
yeah, there's nothing that's there's nothing that doesn't exist
Yeah.
for Parmenides, right? So yeah, if it happened, it exists. Yes.
Okay.
But it's happening is within a greater sense of being, right? So in a sense, there's nothing happening, right? Because there's no change. It's just being.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, if there's perception, I think the ability to explain the perception and how things change through this perception, that is false. Now, that's false. This is the whole thing of Zeno, right? So the perception caves in on itself.
Yeah.
So I mean, perception is
Not making much sense to me. Yeah.
part of the path of seeming. Perception is duality.
Yeah, I've got to get going. Thanks for having me up.
Yeah, blessings, guys.
Been an interesting talk.
Easy, Max.
Have a good day.
For sure. Yeah, we went all over the place. Blessings.
Yeah. Bye-bye. Blessing.
So what else, folks? You guys got anything else? Got anything else? Yeah, I appreciate you guys, man. We're gonna get into the actual, text, and tomorrow we'll get up in that. Obviously, there's many interpretations of the text, as you've seen, right? So there's no one monolith. It seems like there's not one monolithic interpretation, right? Of being and becoming. As I said, it's sort of like a top boss in philosophy, right? So don't think it's something you need to figure out before you figure everything else out, right? That would be sort of foolhardy, right? Fool's errand.
Final boss.
Yeah. So it's just that they always talk about the deeper stuff first, right? It's like the first albums is is always the dopest album, right? So it's just like so it is what it is, and then it sort of gets degraded after a while. But yeah, so I appreciate you guys. Yeah, final boss, exactly right. Going to go, yeah, peace, guys. All right, we're gonna go too. Blessings. I appreciate you guys. You got anything else for him, Red?
No, to do not seek the treasure.
Yeah, and as I said, we've been streaming for 24 hours. So let me scroll up here and get to the all the links we laid down earlier, and we'll present those again. You guys can go check out the oodles of O's, that we have produced. I mean, just miles worth of content, right? We got seditious glands. We did an 12-hour stream there. Twilight Sun Animism. We did a 12-hour stream there. Me and Twilight fought in the middle of the stream. You know, and then I started messaging him to try to get back on the stream to try to get everyone to calm down. So we immediately saw that the optics were bad, and we decided to come back and give our audience a clarifying, message to tell them that we're not, at each other's throats. We're just passionate.
Fashionably late here.
Yeah, blessings, Avian. We're pretty much shutting down here. But yeah, I still appreciate you joining. Of course, anything you have to say or any.
Oh, wait. You're shutting down. I thought you shut down at 10 o'clock. It's 15 minutes to 10.
Yeah, sort of like. I mean, it's already. I mean, I'm supposed to just go for 2 hours, but
yeah, Tuesday stream is always shorter.
Yeah, if I really have to, and we get a bunch of people on panel and they're all talking, then I'll rarely just extend it. Extend it for 3. No, it's fine. It's fine. Say whatever you want. Of course, a lot of time.
Yeah, I feel.
Yeah, as I said, there's there's upward of an hour we could spend here.
Yeah, I only read one book of Duluth. I really don't like him. He's like Herclit. Yeah, that's all I wanted to say. I really don't like Duluth. Like, for tattooed punks, you know what I mean? Tattooed punks. Yeah. That's all I want to say. I don't like it.
Mix 11 soon. Maybe in another few days, depends.
Yeah. Check out those links, man. We a bunch of material. We got the Made by Machine Bob series on Cyber Caliphate. As I said, we got a bunch of material for you guys. So, you can keep on consuming the trash that's being produced around here. A bunch of yippity yap. As I said, it's manufactured drama. It's fake debates, right? And it's fed post, ironic comedy show, where, we get to do our shock comedy routine, and it's all like a bit, non-bit, as they say. So, you can engage in fantasy land, right? Or you could try to, I mean, honestly, like the Twilight stream was heavy the entire time, even when we were fighting. And our fight was real. We really got mad at each other. Unlike some of these people on the streams who pretend to be mad at each other.
Yeah, it was awkward to say the least. Like I'm like, it's like, do I say something or just let it ride out? Hopefully it smooths out.
I've gotten mad at a bunch of people. It is what it is, right? But I always calm down very quickly, and I give people another chance to express themselves. It is what it is.
I mean, you've given
an argument
BK
right now,
a lot of times.
Yeah, I'm in an argument right now, actually, over text with someone.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Ruh-roh.
I've been arguing with him on and off for over 10 years, around 10 years, around 8 to 10 years. Like the Slovenian. I've been arguing with the Slovenian for like 5 to 8 years. But the Slovenian now, he's weird. Yeah. That's what happens with intellectuals or people who are contemplative. They argue a lot and stuff. That's inevitable, I guess. But that's just the way men are. When men are passionate or they feel they truly know the truth and they have conviction, they just tend to argue. But friends always make up and stuff. Yeah, that's what happened. Maybe we'll have an argument in the future too. Who knows? I mean, that's that kind of stuff happens.
Yeah, of course we will.
Yeah.
We're bound to have one. I mean, it's just it's natural. I mean,
yeah, it's natural. Yeah, it's just a man doesn't hold grudges. That's a womanly thing to hold grudges.
It kind of reminds me, or it kind of makes me think. It's like, was there something in the astrology charts today that, like,
if that's the case,
from?
Well, if that's the case, we're both 6'1", skinny dudes, and we're both Ophiuchus astrology, Sagittarius astrology, and so we're on the same astrological scheme, pretty much. We're like the same age, so we have a very similar astrological chart, most likely. Between me and Twilight, son of Lilith. So yeah,
Yeah, I don't
we're
know what to
definitely
do with astrology. Like some of it seems like on the mark, while other times it's like goofy.
yeah. People that only flatter you are not friends. Yeah, I appreciate you guys. All right. Yeah, that's the thing is I want smart people to hold my feet to the fire. And so because I want to refine my ideas and concepts. So this is a long-term gain, right? And
Iron sharpens iron.
yeah, you have to be very invested and both sides have to understand the value, and this is the fact.
Them techniques.
Them old techniques. We need like Louis Armstrong. With the sad trombone, right?
He is a trumpet player, but yeah.
Right.
It would be sad trombone if he's doing sad trombone.
Right. Yeah, man. I appreciate you guys, man. So is that it? You got anything else, Buddha?
Well, just do your best to read, and also do what. Yeah, just I think it's good to read, and also go walk out more and stuff like that.
Oh yeah. That's actually how I wrote my first book. Reading books in the park. Going to the park and reading books. I like to go drive to the park, drive to nature. In the middle of nature, there's really nothing to do. You take a few, take a backpack with you. Just chill out, smoke some weed, read some books.
Especially a lake or a river or some kind of body of water.
Thing. Yeah, that's the thing is that the green and the water and the still lakes, they really help you think. They help you think crystal clear thoughts. It's fascinating.
Yeah, that is good. Yeah. Is the area you live in densely populated, or not as much? My area is getting very densely populated.
Yeah, it's very cold right now. Unfortunately, it's tundra, right? So, so we're over here in Michigan, and unfortunately, going outside is pretty painful. But even then, I sometimes, on Friday, I'll walk to the mosque, even if it's a blizzard, and yeah, that cold will really take something out of you that's necessary to be taken out of you. You go spend some time and stand in that fucking cold, it'll whoop your fucking ass and you'll feel terrible. And when you come inside, you'll appreciate a lot. And it won't change anything about you. And it's not like that, feeling of, numbness is really like, terrible. There's nothing terrible about it. You just have to accept it. And that is just a fascinating lesson. Just the cold. The cold is a fucking teacher, man.
For real, yeah.
I found that the cold weather, the harsh cold weather is a teacher. It's a great teacher. It's fascinating.
Southern kids don't know.
They don't. They don't. Hyperborean. That's part of the Hyperborean, thing. The cold, the mountain,
Iceman.
Exactly. There he is. right on cue. Exactly.
Iceman cometh.
The Iceman cometh. The Yeti. Oh yeah. Yeah, it's like some fucking it's like the air is like not dense at all. It's like there's you can fucking karate chop the air. Like it's like just like you spend summer here in Michigan man, it's fucking humid because of those lakes.
Oh yeah.
It is just muck. You walk outside, it's just thick. Yeah, you get smacked in the face with like hot gas. As soon as you fucking walk outside, it's like there's hot fucking wind. It's like, why is the wind fucking hot?
Yeah.
What the fuck? That shit is whooping your ass.
It's like, son of a beach nut.
Yeah. You ever you ever been you ever have your ass whooped by some fucking hot ass wind?
Yep.
Fuck, man. It's fucking exasperating. Yeah, nature's a real teacher. All right, I see people are logging off now. We got to log off too, guys. This drug dropped to 18.
Blessings. I hope you have a good night.
Yeah, blessings, guys. Peace, guys.
Recheckable.
Yeah, I see the numbers falling. But yeah, blessings to all the people. You know, we'll be back soon. You know. And yeah, man. Yeah, enjoy the music, guys. You know. And yeah, thank you for joining us here on the Machine Lies, where we talk about the lies of the machine on the machine that lies. And yeah, I hope you guys have clarity to see the lies. Obviously, a much longer show tomorrow. So tune in, folks. At 7:30 p.m. Eastern, we will lay out some of the main issues and problems as we see them, but we will be proceeding in a chronological fashion, right? To look at some of the ideas from the 1st century and also the thoughts of St. Augustine and extrapolate on some of those ideas and concepts as well. We'll review some things about Gnosticism, right? We'll present some ideas, right? We may touch on some of the ideas of Elul, right? But mainly we'll do a hard focus on that on Saturday's stream, right? So at the end of Saturday's stream, the conclusion of Saturday's stream will be a lot of views about technology. And of course, that is our main staple on this channel. We presented hundreds of hours of material on that problem, right? And there's many, many, many more avenues that we have yet to explore, but we are aware of. So hang tight, and we'll be bringing you lots more stuff as long as we're able to. If not, right, we will proceed to another venue, right? So please look out for the notifications. There'll be people in the Discord. You can communicate with them, right? There's the email, right? There's also there's some chance of reaching us on Twitter, although I'm not sure about that sort of medium as how reliable that is. But yeah, blessings. We'll talk to you guys soon.
What's up with you? But it's not for me. Whether writing the rhyme or chopping the beats, it ain't shit when I gotta hear your bitch ass speak. Every hour on the hour, so I pop CDs. 3,003. Gotta keep it futuristic, secular music, stimulate creative, powerful, explosive, aggravate, narrating, nigga with an attitude, still paying dues, with nothing to lose, got nothing to choose. So I make the kind of song, kind of piss off blues, imitate imitators, anger accumulates. I'm using videos, checking out these hoes looking tight with the songs, with the songs stole. Fuck a blueprint, you need to get your own shit. He leans so you lean, he bleeds so you bleed, he flips so you fly, he tripped and you try. I sit and I watch, rap maverick with no A&R. I don't want direction, it's all about expression and the thirst fucking image. Nothing to you, but it's something for me. And it really ain't shit for me to be unique, cause I do it for me, and it's coming for me. So it's nothing to you, but it's something for me. And I can do it for cash, or I can do it for free.
This is something for me. If it's nothing to you, then it's nothing to me. Got nothing to lose, got nothing to prove. I ain't frontin' for you. Why you fucking with me? I ain't fucking with you. I be the one to admit it, never run with a critic. Every verse that I'm spitting out is making you wet. Exercise, mic control, never breaking a sweat. How you quick to forget? How you quick to regret? If it's nothing for you, but it's something for me, then you shouldn't critique a single word that I speak till you been where I've been. Done what I did, come to the crib, live how I live. Walked in my shoes, 13's hard to feel. Niggas out of touch with the real. real. It can't feel on their grill. Spend 100 grand alone. Man, it could have been some land to own. You a grown man without a plan to even own a home. But you got a new land with chrome. If that's what it's doing for you, won't do it for me. If you the greatest nigga alive, better prove it to me. Just a needle in the haystack as far as you see. About to push the playback for Mr. MIC. Never lay sad, leaving you face flat. You hate that, stay back. Lyrical impact is paid back. More than James Brown, the same clowns can chase that. Ain't the same cast that's laid back in your backpack. Fact that you niggas get laughed at by half-ass criticism. My lyricism make you pass gas. Nasty clones get dropped more than Dow Jones. Rhyme bones, homes get stepped on like pine cones. It's your rhyme mode, never that. See, we sever that. Best that you come with your best so we can better that. Something for me, it ain't nothing to you. Just a broke ass nigga with nothing to do. Choose it, ass or cash, which side you on? Time is gone, plus you rhyming wrong as hell. I can tell that you found you some rhymes on sale. And it's all bullshit, I can tell by the smell. How you gonna tell me what I'm sounding like? Dissing me, you never touched the mic in your life. And it's getting more trite, cause the blind can see. It ain't nothing to you, but it's something for me. It ain't nothing to you, but it's something for me. It ain't nothing to you, but it's something for me.
Dukes in my horizons pass the time of day with me. Dukes in my horizons pass the time of day with me. The earth's surface hot as blowhole, so watch the spout sport. I'm free due to the odds of firearms. I was a specimen of near perfection in a college professor's pod. Now I'm the only thing you should be fearing for the next landing or clearing. If only time will tell, then I'll tell time no secrets like he doesn't know. I throw Vega's bullets at Bailey's ball. There'll be bullets over Broadway for all if I fall.
People in glass houses shouldn't throw stones.
I agree.
People who live in glass houses don't throw stones. People in glass houses shouldn't throw stones, cause they risk having boulders crash down on their lovely homes. Then wind, rain, sleet, snow cones come showering through your roof. Need a fine tooth comb to find the truth. Well, my house ain't made of glass and my cherry it ain't no pumpkin. I'm not a backyard bumpkin, I'm from the concrete slab. Well, people take any and everything that they can grab. But what's so bad, it's a whole lot of grabbing. Lot of jaw jabbing, gremlins, goblins, rabbits, squabbling amongst the ranks. From the punks to the drunks to the monks to the saints. Keep your eyes on your oxygen tank. Either is or you ain't, either you can or you can't. Heartbeat, start, skip, stop, off, crank. You go blank, you go blank, you go blank, you go blank, you go blank.
The fascination of the infinite consumes me. The fascination of the infinite consumes. The fascination of the infinite consumes me. Vitality to hurt you all in virtual reality. Actual natural plants enhance. My words are crystal clear. Deep intensified trance in a relaxed atmosphere. Features optional imagery, high-tech full color processing. Metallic existence roams through the galaxies. Trails of stardust remain. I'll crush your palace of fallacies. Warlords who swung swords now hide behind steel shields on the battlefield. Mortal weaponry stays concealed as they kneel. Once my power cosmics reveal.
I'm the Piccadilly of the carnival, the unharnessable, remarkable, the sheath that holds the arguably truest tempered sword in the Western world. I'm ahead of my time and I'm heading your way. A word of warning: the world is turning, torquing and contorting while a ball of gas is burning. Meteor shower warnings leaving grinding grit and granite winding. The second hand towards the finding of tablets for derelicts and martyrs, puppeteers and marauders, juggernauts and argonauts, who's barking irons to butter into waters uncharted. Chartered.
Now into the labyrinth of mad child's amusement. More intense than the shining, you're in a difficult course. Feel the pressure from all angles of Prev's centrifugal force. Unremorseful sorcery, firing flames more frequent. As strength the attacker and black magic clash in sequence. My activities are extracurricular, one particular. Immaculate, masculine, muscular, rap spectacular. Coercion casting curses in articulate verses.
What do you do when there's no response to your distress signal? When your SOS is busy, is he dead or alive? Since I put my mind in overdrive, I I've derived this method of meshing and molding, shaping and holding on to this golden microphone. Alone in the wilderness, skillless yet fearless, I've experienced your experiences once already. Now once you're ready, I'll redream your dreamscape, landscape, skyscrape, skydive in the Swan Lake, chasing beat breaks. We can take a cakewalk through my program and talk megabytes, gigabytes, kilohertz, and electric inserts. I can povo with a lightning bolt over the wall of China and cruise by a cruise liner, trying to find a rhyme and if I decide to sink your Lusitania, there'll be pandemonium, mania, drowning in my aquarium, terranium.
Dukes and Maharajas pass the time of day with me.
So, lost the video. Yeah, peace, guys. Blessings.
Listening to things that make you think about yourself. Drop everything that's been a hassle to your mental health. Watch carefully and then you'll see a barren empty shelf. Carelessly you'll never see a parent calls for help. But you believe so fluently that things can never change, and you stupidly refuse to see the errors in your ways. And I understand that this whole planet's thoroughly deranged, but that doesn't mean that you should be so scared to break away. Well, I wonder what's under the cover of darkness, counting the number of innocent hearts, just making an effort to realize all this suffering has to be making some progress. Changing the way that I look at those places, hating the way that you show me those faces, breaking the balance of homeostasis, taking my talents and calling them basic. I'll face it, well it's inevitable when it's set in the stone, and I'm setting my soul into hell, and I know that my rhetoric won't be directing a poem. I'm faceless. This era hasn't made a name because it's tasteless. I'm sick of all these wasted cases and their makeshifts. Habitats don't make sense. How to rap and take this cataract and make your vision out of whack. It's calling, I'm falling a little bit more every day, but I'm stolen. I'm running from reapers that wanna be hauling my body back to little places to dwell. I guess I know one thing about life. Everybody says I need the death of suicide, and I'm just trying to figure out if what I do is right. So idea, would you grab the mic and shed a little light?
Well, the summer bleeds a foreshadow of what's to come and go to waste. It blankets me, braces me, something sweet that I can taste. You're my mother, I'm your morphine. Let's go make a baby out of two guitars, a heavy heart. I'll seem happy when you're looking, smoking, singing, eating, fucking. One size fits angel coma. You're my favorite stranger, and I won't hate you till I know you. Somewhere between the garden and the grave, I bypassed the machine. I wouldn't have felt its effects anyway. Sentiment is the tramp that bore this special hollow. Cram it in my old cuts, it leaves a whole lot left to swallow. Exercise your right to never buy what you can't borrow. Carve my sorries in the sky and hope the sun hides them tomorrow. Manufactured disaster, it seems I made my bed. No one sees the burn holes until the sleeper wakes up dead. Take my hands away, I'll pull the moon down with my wrist. Making plans to fake safe as possible is dangerous.
Writer's block just might have stopped the song from being finished, cause my mind was stopped with rhymes I've dropped from previous conditions. So I listened to the words again and visioned things I would have said, and crossed out many lines that didn't rhyme and left them all for dead. I was trapped inside my head and I couldn't get out my pen from my back pocket. Guess I lost it, so I wrote these words instead. If you would just shut up enough for me to get my point across, I'm sure this conflict could be solved without having substantial loss. And when I see the rain is coming overhead, I stay and function back inside my mind and try to find the ways to make assumptions. Taking something that's been written, mixing it down with high precision, making it sound all nice and vivid, and matching up with my direction and vision and eloquence. With decadence, some medicine, there's precedence, some messages, the sentences, the evidence that I presented to win. The reason to fight, the weakest to breathe, the season the top as a dream when I dream, the secret to life, the reason to be. Yeah, that's all been shown to me.
Well, every once in a blue moon, I read your mind. Heaven ended too soon, it stole my pride and left me blind. Exercised my morning shakes, pretended I was born this way. Wearing my Academy Award-winning performance face, snake shedding skin. It's all in my head again. Life fetish led me to a dead end. I said when, but no one was listening, obviously, cause they filled it to the brim and I'm spilling it all over me. Crawl, 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 crawl in this hole with me. I'd fall on my face just to make sure that you notice me. Your cold shoulders always so sobering. I'll be understood as long as I don't overthink. Walking on thin ice, talking in the form of song, singing in the key of life. I'll lose my voice before too long. Head came loose and they screwed it back together wrong. Fire behind my eyes, desire died all night long.
King Stephen, bow down to Dolphin Jesus.
Wires going across. Oh shit! Oh shit! Fire!
That was so dumb. The thing is, I do wonder, like, should we all stop now? Because
Wires going across. Oh shit! Oh shit! Fire! Ooh, baby!
But can I finish my inquiry, please, before you move off of it? If you masturbate with a wooden dildo, and that's conceivably fine, but having sex with a tree which is alive is not, then the only threshold breaker there is that the wood is dead.